Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's your host, Rising Oblivion. Today, guys, we're going to be going over the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade and all of the different compatibility things that are going to be coming with Final Fantasy VII, whether or not you qualify for a free version of the game, because there's a couple of different redundancies there, the Yuffie DLC, and some extra goodies that you get for having the deluxe edition or the just standard version, but you have some of the pre-order bonuses. So let's just quickly go over a couple things here. So Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is going to be $70, but if you did buy the game on the PS4, however, you're going to be able to get a free digital copy on the PS5. But a lot of people have been wondering whether or not the PlayStation Plus version is actually going to carry over, because March this month we are going to be actually having the Final Fantasy VII Remake game be free on the PS4, but a lot of people do not realize that it actually does not count towards being able to obtain it on the PS5. You actually can read it here. You can read it right here, this spot. Now, without standing or foregoing, if you obtain Final Fantasy VII Remake via PlayStation Plus monthly game, you are not eligible for the free upgrade to PS5, but you are eligible to purchase the game, blah blah blah. So basically, if you're going to be getting Final Fantasy VII Remake through PlayStation Plus, you're not actually going to be able to get the game for free on the PS5. So I thought I'd clear that up. I don't think a lot of people knew that. I think a lot of people expected this month to get Final Fantasy VII Remake through the PlayStation Plus, but have it on their PS5. That's not actually how it works. You do have to purchase the game some way, and then you get your free version on the PS5. If not, you could jump straight into getting the PS5 version, which is going to actually be $70. But yeah, it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to do that, or just buy it on PS4 for cheaper, then carry that over to the PS5. You kind of have some workarounds when it comes to this, but let's just talk about what the regular version of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is actually going to entail and what all that's going to have. So you can pre-order the game. It already is available for pre-order and stuff like that for PS5. If you pre-order, you get the Cackstar weapon, which Yuffie can wield in her episode. So the new Yuffie episode that is coming out, if you pre-order the game, either version, this one or the deluxe version, you get the Cackstar item as a weapon, which is going to be a new weapon that Yuffie can use. It's probably going to be similar to how, like, Cloud had some different goodies and stuff like that. If you have the beta versions or the pre-order versions of the game as well, there's a couple of different DLCs and stuff like that that you should get. I don't know if this Cackstar weapon is actually going to be a DLC later on or not, but that is something you can get alongside the new Yuffie episode. So people were actually wondering, is this something you have to purchase from the store or stuff like that? No, the new episode of Yuffie just comes with Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS5. As long as you somehow got Final Fantasy Remake on the PS5, you do get the new episode featuring Yuffie, which is honestly really cool, man. I mean, if you have it on PS4, you bring that over to PS5, you have the new episode featuring Yuffie. I'm not sure if this Cackstar weapon is something that you can get if you just bring over your copy over to the PS5 from your PS4. I'm not 100% sure, but you get Yuffie's new weapon and you get the Cackstar, weapon and Yuffie's DLC. All for this, whether you do backwards compatibility or that. But let's move on over to the digital deluxe edition. So this is going to run you $90, and it is similar to the regular Final Fantasy digital deluxe edition as well in terms of what you get included. So let's move on down. Let's talk about that real quick here. So within this, you get the normal Yuffie episode, you get the pre-order bonus item, but you also get the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade digital art book, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade digital mini soundtrack. So this makes me think that possibly there's going to be some different music and stuff like that for Yuffie's episode, and there's going to be the art book here that we have for Intergrade as well that's going to be for Yuffie's episode, or potentially this could be stuff for other DLC stuff in the future. I'm going to have a new video coming out talking about potential other DLC episodes, and I wouldn't be really surprised if we'd seen something like a Red 13 potential DLC, or maybe even a Zack DLC, or some of the other Final Fantasy characters that have not been brought out yet, or even some of the recurring, characters. Maybe there were certain times in the game where you couldn't find them, or you couldn't, see some of the other characters, and not only that, we potentially have stuff with Jessie and Briggs and a couple of the other side characters, so we might potentially see some other DLC episodes in here as well. So that art book might have some stuff in there. Maybe some of the soundtrack stuff is also going to be included in some of those DLCs. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if we do see some type of season pass or something like that linked to this. Whether or not it's going to be free, I'm not 100% sure. It seems like this new episode featuring Yuffie might have been just something to tie people in from Sony to basically just get people to buy a PS5. The fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be on PlayStation Plus, but you still have to purchase the game, kind of goes to show just how hard Sony's ties are currently with Final Fantasy, especially with something like Final Fantasy 16, which we know is going to be more than likely stuck on the console for at least a year. Same thing with Final Fantasy 7. It's just now ending, where Final Fantasy 7 can actually jump to something else if it potentially wanted to, that year-long exclusivity deal. But who knows, maybe that's renewed, I don't know. Seeing as how there's going to be new Yuffie DLC and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if potentially they bring Final Fantasy VII Remake over to some other stuff, but who really knows whether or not the DLC type of stuff is going to carry over, or whether or not we're actually going to be able to see that kind of thing. It's really kind of hard to say and still kind of up in the air. There have been some rumors about this game potentially jumping to something like PC, or maybe even something like Xbox. I don't really know, but from what we've seen and what I've, made some couple of videos about, really, it just seems to be like something like PC might potentially be happening in the future, which does kind of make sense. If, we're talking about Final Fantasy, it's like, yeah, they did stuff in Nintendo way in the past, but really their exclusivity stuff and their hard deals are, for the most part, all Sony right now. But they still have been putting some of the games up on Steam, just like how Final Fantasy 15 was on Steam there for quite a while, and it just took a little bit before it ever jumped to it. So we might end up seeing Final Fantasy Remake jumping to something like PC potentially soon. I don't know. Maybe they just redid their deal with Sony for this new stuff with the PS5 and everything. Really, they're trying to pull in more sales and stuff. And obviously, with Final Fantasy Remake, I guess I could touch up on this. The game is going to load a lot faster. It's going to have an SSD because it is a PS5. A lot of PS5 owners know that, but you're not using a normal, just regular, hard disk drive. You have an SSD, which means that it's going to actually load stuff much, much faster. Textures and loading in new levels, which was probably one of the biggest deals, I would say, with Final Fantasy VII Remake in terms of just load times. They're very, very low. But this version, the Intergrade version, is going to load quite a bit faster. It's going to load textures better. It has improved lighting and stuff like that. I have a video already about that kind of stuff if you do want to know more about that. But I think for the most part, you kind of just expect it to run better, play better, feel better. I mean, it's on a better piece of hardware, which kind of makes sense. And to be completely fair, Final Fantasy VII Remake is very, very far into the PS4's lifetime, and even me playing on a Pro doesn't feel incredible. If you know what I'm talking about, the infamous the infamous door where you kind of meet Tifa in the beginning of the game. My god, it looks terrible. Some of the skyboxes look terrible, but this is pretty much it for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. $70 for the regular version, plus the Yuffie DLC and a Yuffie weapon, but the PS Plus version does not work. Keep that in mind. So you're going to be having the new Yuffie DLC and the weapon if you buy the $70 version, or if you have it backwards compatible with your PS4, it's now your PS5 with your Final Fantasy VII Remake. And then you have Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade Digital Deluxe Edition. So basically you're paying a good extra, pretty much just $20 for the digital art book and the soundtrack there. So you're pretty much paying that much just to get that kind of stuff. $10 each for $10 for a soundtrack, $10 for an art book. Pretty crazy, consider that we just had something like Persona 5 Strikers come out, which all of that stuff was actually included for free, plus a behind the scenes kind of stuff. But Square Enix over there, they're milking it. Not to say that Atlas doesn't milk P5, but Strikers was a pretty good situation for all players. But I think that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe for more content. I will keep you all up to date on everything Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy Intergrade, First Soldier, Forever Core, Crisis Core, this core, that core, every core. I will keep you up to date on everything Final Fantasy. And Final Fantasy 16, of course. We just haven't heard a whole lot. But I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.